Find out how low inventory is driving the number of properties selling at or above list price in today's Monday Market Monitor. The sales data for February in the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver is painting an awfully interesting picture. So let's dive into the stats for February 13th to 19th, 2023. Last week we had a 15% drop in the number of new listings coming to the market from the previous week. A drop in the number of new listings means one thing and one thing only: less inventory and potentially more competition for the spring buyers, which I will tell you a little bit more about later in the video. As for expired listings, there were the usual 58 of them last week, and that number has returned to the average market cycle now, so there's nothing new to report here at all. And the same can actually be said for price changes. There were only 182 of those, exactly the same as the previous week, and while I feel that more people might want to rethink their sales strategy right now, apparently only 182 of them agree with me. The rest must not want a successful sale. All right, speaking of successful sales, we had 507 of them last week, the highest number that we've seen since the first week in November 2022. And it feels like the market is making a comeback. Buyers are out in full force, and every open house out there is well attended. I listed a detached home in East Van last week, and we had 23 groups of active, serious buyers attend. And you can tell that the buyers are in full force because the median days on average to get a successful home sale is only 13. That means buyers are picking up homes faster than normal. So no one will be surprised when I say that the number of successful sales that sold at or above list price increased last week. We are back up to 26.2% of the successful home sales being at or above list, a number we have not seen since the last week of September 2022. What might surprise you a bit is that it actually took me back a bit, was the number of properties that are under $1 million dropped. So only 51% of the properties sold were actually under $1 million. That number has been steadily dropping over the last 8-ish weeks and is reflected as well in the number of attached versus detached homes that are now selling. So if you go back about 10 weeks, as I mentioned, one of the trends that I had my eye on was detached homes looked like they were making a comeback in the market. And while the end of 2022 saw condos and townhomes as sure bets over the 10 weeks, the number started to fluctuate until now. Now we have definitive data that the number of condos and townhomes being sold is dropping off and detached properties are taking the lead. As last week, 67% of the sales were only for condos and townhomes, and that is an overall downward trend. So what does this all mean? That is a great question. It means right now that the data and the anecdotal information point to the spring market being on the edge of being in full swing. We are already seeing multiple offers in all product categories in all locations, minus luxury and some of the very high-end properties. And if buying a home is on your spring agenda, then you need to consider speeding up your timeline a little because there's not a lot of properties coming to the market. As for sellers, you might be in luck again. If you get your pricing and your marketing right and attract the perfect buyers, you could have a very successful home sale this spring. Remember, if you want to have an in-depth conversation about the Vancouver real estate market and how these stats will affect your spring home sale or home purchase, then reach out for some expert advice. Thank you so much for tuning in to your Monday Market Monitor, and we will see you in the next video.